My own mother screamed in court. She stood there, shaking with rage, pointing at me, telling the judge that I was mentally sick. That I had been unstable my entire life. That I should never be trusted with money, especially not an inheritance. I said nothing. I sat silently in the Milwaukee County Courthouse, wearing my grandmother's pearl earrings, my hands folded neatly in front of me, and I did not speak a single word. The judge, a woman in her mid-60s with silver hair and reading glasses balanced on her nose, listened carefully as my mother's attorney finished his opening statement. Then she leaned back slightly, her expression changing into something I recognized instantly. It was the look she gave when something didn't add up. She turned to the attorney, a young man named Ethan Rowe, wearing an oversized suit and confidence he hadn't earned yet, and asked a single, quiet question. "Counselor, do you truly have no idea who this woman is?" Ethan blinked. He glanced at his notes. He looked at me. Then back at the judge. My mother's face drained of color in real time. "Let me tell you how I ended up in that courtroom. My name is Claire Whitman. I am 33 years old, and I work as a certified forensic fraud investigator in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. For 7 years, I have specialized in one specific crime, elder financial exploitation. I investigate forged checks, fake powers of attorney, manipulated wills, and stolen life savings. I have testified as an expert witness in 38 cases. 31 of those cases ended in convictions. 11 of those testimonies happened in Judge Eleanor Prescott's courtroom. Once, on the record, she called me one of the most credible expert witnesses I have encountered in 20 years on the bench. My mother did not know any of this. We hadn't spoken in 19 years. When I was 14, my parents divorced. It was ugly. My father moved to Oregon. My mother remarried within 3 months to a man named Richard Hale, a struggling businessman who owned several laundromats in rural Wisconsin. And just like that, my mother decided her new life had no room for me. She didn't fight for custody. She didn't call on my birthday. She sent one Christmas card the first year and never another one again. I was raised by my grandmother, Margaret Whitman, in a small house in Eau Claire. She was a retired elementary school teacher. She never made more than $45,000 a year. But she was careful, meticulous, methodical. She tracked every dollar, saved receipts in labeled envelopes, balanced her checkbook every Sunday morning with coffee, 2 sugars, a splash of milk. She taught me everything I know. She just didn't realize she was training a fraud investigator. My grandmother passed away 8 months ago from congestive heart failure. She was 81. She died peacefully, in her sleep, in the house she had lived in for 43 years. I was holding her hand. She left me everything. The house. Her savings. A modest insurance policy. It wasn't a fortune, but it was hers. Every cent earned honestly over 36 years of teaching children how to read. 3 weeks after her funeral, I received a letter from an attorney. My mother was contesting the will. She claimed my grandmother had been mentally declining. That I had isolated her. That I had manipulated a vulnerable elderly woman. The woman who hadn't visited in 15 years. Was accusing me of elder abuse. At first, I laughed. Then I stopped, because the letter said something else. My mother was petitioning the court to have me declared mentally incompetent and to appoint herself as conservator over the estate. That's when I realized this wasn't grief. It was greed. I did what I do for a living. I investigated. I pulled bank records. Built timelines. Cross-checked withdrawals. That's when I found it. 7 unexplained cash withdrawals. Over 11 months. Nearly $50,000. Each one happened within days of my mother visiting my grandmother. Then I found the journal. My grandmother had known. She documented every visit. Every lie. Every manipulation. She wrote about signing papers on a foggy day, papers she later realized gave my mother power of attorney. The notarization was forged. The stamp belonged to a man who had retired years earlier. It was sloppy. It was criminal. I waited. I let my mother think she was winning. I let her scream in court. And when the judge asked who I was, my attorney stood and presented the truth. Bank records. Forged documents. A handwritten journal from the victim herself. A pattern of theft tied to my stepfather's past. The courtroom fell silent. My mother finally looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in 19 years. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just waited. The petition was denied with prejudice. The case was referred to federal prosecutors. My mother and her husband were later arrested, tried, and convicted for financial exploitation and fraud. No screaming. No dramatic breakdowns. Just evidence. That's how justice actually works. I kept my grandmother's house. I kept her journal. Not as evidence, but as her voice. My career was restored. My life rebuilt. And the people who thought silence meant weakness learned the truth. I was raised by a woman who kept receipts. And paper trails don't lie.